What's happening, gamers? It's Kwing here, and rather than go with a short news segment, I'll actually be chatting about Nintendo's new plan called The Quality of Life today, and going into full detail while playing some Smash Brothers, because, well, it just seems fitting, especially because Lucario is in Smash Brothers again, and we'll actually talk about that in a K-News video, probably next week. But I have some reviews to finish, and this is just going to be a commentary video telling you my thoughts on Nintendo's business plans. In case you don't know what that is, I'll tell you. On January 30th, Nintendo talked about its new strategy, though this time it wasn't just talk, which everybody's kind of curious about. Iwata stated before the meeting started that Mario Kart 8 would also release in May of 2014, so that was kind of big news, but it all kind of got swept under the rug based on everything that Nintendo talked about, which was interesting. He did mention that the Wii U is struggling, which everybody's like, duh, I mean, come on. But the main focus for their new business model is called Quality of Life. And that has to do with Nintendo consoles, like in the future, mobile stuff, and non-wearable stuff, which I have no idea what that means, but supposedly it's to engage users and create a new blue ocean strategy, because Nintendo is searching for that new ocean of marketing bliss. And Wii U isn't that ocean, it's more like a puddle and things like that. And, you know, I say that with love, Nintendo. I say it with love. He did say that this new QOL, or Quality of Life, will take about 2 to 3 years to be realized in the business world. But Nintendo will still stay with video games. Also, Nintendo's future will not rely on just Wii U and 3DS. So the new business plan officially will release between 2015 and April 2016. The meeting was actually pretty boring, and it took a long time to decipher it and translate it, because, you know, sometimes Japanese stuff is hard. But basically, Iwata talked about various things, like getting DS games on the Wii U, which is amazing, but I'll talk in full detail in a little bit. Also, a faster startup for Wii U games and a menu update, which you can actually see online how that would go. I think it would only take about 10 to 15 seconds for a game to load, and instead of being brought into this menu, you have an option, like when you use the TV feature on the Wii U. Like, it's instant. It would be like one of the fastest loading times a console can have. So, I mean, Nintendo's really going to push that, as well as use other factors to utilize the gamepad. Things like maps and off-TV play and things that they really haven't been pushing. They're going to be pushing a lot more in future Wii U titles. So that's good. They also brought up the NFC feature again, which a lot of people are kind of like, say, what? NFC feature? That's something they haven't talked about for a long time. And if you don't know what that is, Ubisoft actually teased that back with their Rayman Legends beta video that I got in trouble for showing on my channel. It was where you put action figures onto the Wii U, and the Wii U read it and brought things like hearts and all kinds of things into the game to help Rayman, even Ezio at the end. So it was a really cool idea that was kind of capitalizing on the whole Skylanders idea, because basically Activision's model is to have toys that not only sit on your shelf and you can play with, but you can also play with them in the game. And when you use them, they would have data and stuff saved onto them. So like all your levels and abilities and things like that would be transferred to the figure. And wherever you went to, like Billy or Jimmy's house or Sally or Susan, you bring your little figure and you put it on their portal or their NFC technology, and you would have your character and all your stuff right there in the game. So Nintendo's kind of thinking, you know what, we need to cash in on this and do like a Nintendo Skylanders or something that will utilize our characters with the NFC feature. And I have to say, Nintendo would make a killing on those figures, because Nintendo figures are so cool looking, and everybody loves Nintendo characters more than Spyro or Disney characters in this day and age, especially gamers. So that would be like printing money the way the DS did, you know, like that old meme, it prints money. But yeah, out of all the stuff that Iwata mentioned, the DS thing was definitely the coolest idea. But I'd actually like to expand on that a little bit, so bear with me because I'm probably going to trail off. You have no idea where I'm going to go with this. But DS games on the Wii U is a perfect fit. Actually, most gamers call the Wii U not only a failure, but they have other fun nicknames for it, like the DS2 or the DS Home, because they're utilizing the dual screen. Gamers like the idea of a system that lets you have maps and gameplay and another screen. They like the dual screen gameplay, they just don't like that Nintendo did it. But getting back to the whole DS thing on Wii U, today many publishers such as Natsumi, Namco, Sega, and Capcom have been buzzing about this announcement. But Natsumi released a statement today, and they're reviewing their past DS catalog for potential titles for coming over to the Wii U. But when asked about GBA games, Natsumi was like, we'd love to bring it over, but it's up to Nintendo. Because, let's face it, folks, even Nintendo hasn't brought enough Game Boy Advance games over. So until they do, Natsumi can't. Although, I think Nintendo did recently release a Zelda game for free on the eShop on the 3DS. You can go verify that for yourself by turning on your 3DS. I'm not going to do it because I'm lazy. But I believe it's 4 Swords and it's for a limited time. So, yeah. It was also released as part of the ambassador program for the 3DS a few years ago, I believe. Something like that. So it's not like it's unheard of for them doing this, because they did. Honestly, though, it is a little baffling to me that Nintendo hasn't really released a lot of VC titles on the Wii U. I mean, most of their stuff is on the Wii Virtual Console, just sitting there. And from what I hear, the service will be ending next year or two. So then what's going to happen to all these releases? They're just going to vanish? I mean, you know, kind of like when Nintendo would just randomly pull games like Donkey Kong Country off the service for no reason, with no explanation. And some Capcom games too, like back in the day. That was always interesting. You go to the eShop, or excuse me, Wi-Fi, whatever it was called, shop channel, something, and there would be missing Nintendo games. It'd be like, is there some type of real troll that lives on the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection? It's not like Nintendo can rely on the Wii U's Virtual Console service at the moment either, because they really don't have anything. What they should have done is when the system released, they should have had between 50 to 100 classic games, NES, Super Nintendo, and N64, ready within the first year. So while I want to get excited about DS games coming to the Wii U, how long will it take, and how many games will Nintendo release once it's available? So I propose another idea. I think Nintendo should go a very different route instead of digital. See, back when the GameCube came out, Iwata and Miyamoto combined two hardwares into one, and they called this masterpiece the Game Boy Player, which at its time was awesome, because the GBA was the powerhouse of its day. I mean, frankly, it was. It was a brilliant move to move both Game Boy hardware and GameCube hardware by combining the two. Heck, even to this day, when I record reviews of GBA games, I still use the Game Boy Player, and it plays all my Game Boy and Game Boy Color games too. My thought to Nintendo is this: bring this idea to the Wii U with the DS player. I don't care how you do it. I know there's really no way to attach it, but maybe you could do something with the USB things you never use on the back, because most people don't even use a portable hard drive. So make use of that, or maybe have some way to use the NFC feature. I don't know. You're the geniuses. You figure it out. But I'm telling you, you can make money if you make a DS player. That's my 2 cents on that. I think that would go very, very well. But getting back to his speech, what can I say? It's probably going to be digital. There's nothing we can do. And, you know, when the game's released, no one will know. There will be huge gaps and everyone will cry. But getting back to Iwata's speech, the only other thing that piqued my interest was when he talked about rewarding paying customers or active buyers with discounts. Now, if you're a Wii U owner, you already know about the digital promotion thing with Deluxe. Basically, if you don't know, whenever you buy something off the Wii U eShop and you have the black Wii U, you earn points. I'm serious. Every time you buy something, you're earning points. If the game's like $59.99, you got 599 points. So, and these all add up to eventually giving you $5 back, where you can then use that money however you want. So, I mean, it's pretty cool that they do that, but they only do it for the black Wii U. But see, Iwata wants to take this step a little bit further with consumers and his new quality for life thing, where he will actually give discounts on new stuff on the eShop. And this has already started to happen a little bit with offering Monster Hunter 3 for $20 until February 2nd. And also the new Indie Super Sale and a ton of other sales going on right now. So we can see Nintendo's thought process a little bit that they're doing this. But as the years roll on and this strategy continues to build up momentum, this will either hurt or help the big end. Then again, Amazon's been offering loyal customers discounts for years, though you do need to pay for the Prime service. So I think Nintendo should do something like the PlayStation Plus, but who knows? The rest of the meeting didn't really interest anybody, because let's be honest here, the investors that were there, they wanted Nintendo to say, we are going to drop the Wii U and go to smartphones, so you can make back some of the money that you lost, investors. But Iwata, see, he's a crafty devil, that one. When it comes to smartphones, they won't be porting the 3DS or DS games, and he said it again, and you could see the investors grow, and they were like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr." So rather than going the easy route and making millions with like Angry Birds Mario or some type of like gimmicky NES remix that's just for smartphones, Nintendo is still being the cool kid and ticking off everybody, and I just love it. I wish I could have been there and seen like the investors like rip their shirts off and start like beating each other like Mortal Kombat or something because they didn't get their way. That'd be hilarious to me. What Iwata did say about their strategy, though, getting back to whatever, is there's going to be some really cool apps, some phone stuff with Miiverse, and they're going to be entertaining other ideas, but I really don't know how that's going to go about, and after this announcement shortly, the stocks for Nintendo fell a bit. I also think some confusion happened when Nintendo started talking about healthcare, but I'll be honest, I'd rather trust Mario with my healthcare than the US government. However, as weird as it was, all of this info trickled on the internet and got people buzzing about Nintendo. And then this morning, Iwata had an interview with, I believe it's called Nikki or Nikkel or whatever, some type of Japanese publication or news agency, I don't know, where they sparked even more interest based on learning more about Iwata's business model for Nintendo the next couple years. Basically, we find out that he's been inspired by his former mentor, who passed away last year. It was like Yamaguchi or Yamuchi, something. I can never say his name. Iwata will actually be digging into the reserves or the war chest just a little bit and doing all kinds of things with the money. So think like a teenager with dad's credit card. Nintendo's going to cut loose like the billions upon billions that they've saved. And they actually have a nice cash reserve of, I believe it's $15 to $30 billion that they've managed to, keep stashed away for a rainy day or when another system like the Virtual Boy plummets and dies, like what's happening to the Wii U a little bit. Though the Wii U is far from dead, but they won't be blowing all their cash. Iwata even said something that his teacher told him, that Nintendo should act regally when things are bad and be calm when things are going well. So this strategy actually makes sense if you look back at Nintendo's history, because when things were going really well with the Wii, they weren't doing tons of marketing. They weren't doing lots of stuff with the DS. It seemed like, everything was calm, so they weren't going to go out of their way. But now that things aren't going very well for them, we're going to see Nintendo not be so frugal anymore and stop saying no to a lot of things, and they're going to expand their viewpoint a little bit. So what kind of stuff can we expect Nintendo and Iwata to do the next couple of years? Well, he said Wii U is definitely going to continue, so they're not going to be canceling the system. They have a very strong first-party and second-party release in 2014 planned. Donkey Kong is actually next month. Mario Kart 8 is going to be in May. Bayonetta 2 is sometime. Hyrule Warriors by Koei is going to be sometime this year. X from Monolith Studios is going to be this year. And Zelda possibly will be released or announced this year, and along with to-be-announced upcoming directs. He did talk a little bit about the 3DS, but not much, basically citing back the strong software release in 2013, so like Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, things like that, Monster Hunter. Though it still has some cool games coming out, like Bravely Default next week, Yoshi's new game in March, and eventually Kirby Triple Trouble, among other games to be announced. I think, too, the 3DS is actually Nintendo's powerhouse at the moment. I mean, it's not quite where the DS was. The DS was selling like hotcakes and had so many variations under the sun, and everybody had one. The 3DS isn't at that point yet, but it's still selling better than most consoles on the market today. One thing that he was very adamant about talking about, though, is Nintendo is going to release more software and be very aggressive when it comes to marketing. Or so they say. Basically, last month in November, the marketing was aimed toward just kids and parents, not really gamers. The only Nintendo ad that I can remember that spoke directly to me as a gamer was the epic Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds commercial. And I know, while some of you are like, man, that was so cheesy, I thought the ad was pretty cool. It also did its job and got the internet buzzing about how awesome Zelda was. And it like parodied the 90s and 80s commercials. So, you know, I was a sucker for that. The biggest problem that I have with Nintendo's marketing is they don't really focus on what the system can do. And I guarantee you, when you guys watch the pitch commercials, what did you take away from the system? When I watched those commercials, I got upgrade, family, togetherness, new games. That was it. That word upgrade is a very, very dangerous term to use when you're trying to get people to buy a new system. Because when you hear that as a consumer, and not as a gamer, but as a consumer, when you hear upgrade, you think attachment, you think add-on, and the fact that it says Wii U, most people still to this day consider the Wii U gamepad as something that they can use on their Wii. That is death for marketing right there. That is something that you never want to happen to your product, because as soon as that happens, there's no hope for the product. Now, there is still ways that Nintendo could revitalize, revive, and bring back the Wii U. And it's very, very, very simple. The way to get people excited about Nintendo and to actually understand Nintendo is only one feature. One thing. Do you know what that is? Off-TV play. If I was doing the pitch commercials, this is what I would do. The setting would be there's a little boy or little girl playing a game on their TV, right? They're enjoying, let's say, Mario Brothers. That's a family game, right? Mario Brothers. So they're sitting there playing Mario. And it's Sunday. Dad's coming in with his buddies. They're hooting and hollering, yeah, sports! Yeah, we like sports! Ah! You know, foam fingers going all over the place. And the little girl or little boy is playing, and they're getting into their game, and they've got to the boss, and everything's exciting, and you can see in their eyes, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then a little bit of fear comes up because they see the parental figure coming in with all these freaky, sweaty men that are going to watch sports. And as gamers, we don't really watch sports. It doesn't relate to us. So instead of panicking, the child sits there calmly, hits the button on their Wii U so that the screen comes right to their gamepad. This commercial lasts 30 seconds or maybe 60 seconds at the most. It shows a happy, crazy father with his friends watching sports, and it shows a happy gamer sitting on the couch using the gamepad while still playing their game. And then when dad leaves, right back to the TV. Sold. That's it. That's all they would need to do. It's staring right in the face of all the executives. But sometimes it's the stuff right under your nose that you don't pay attention to. So where does that leave us now with Big N's planned marketing for the next couple years and the whole quality of life meeting? Well, there's a couple things that have changed with what Nintendo's strategy is, and some information has been leaked from meeting different people and partners and also talking with people in interviews. And some of my sources I won't be able to disclose, so don't even ask. Either because it was hearsay or technically I'm under a non-disclosure and I don't know about it. Stuff like that. But here's what I think might be happening. So we can word it like that. It might be. It's a rumor. I can't confirm this. I'm not going to. But this might happen this way. Let's start with Nintendo considering merging and buying out game developers, because this is a fun, juicy one right now. And we can actually see some light to this rumor, because over the summer, Nintendo finished making a brand new building for Intelligent Systems. If you don't know who they are, they're the people behind Fire Emblem. They did some DS stuff. They've done some Wii things, some Game Boy Advance, and even some DS stuff. They're really good, both hardware and software developer. So they have other offices available that they're, making all this space. So you can see this idea that Nintendo is going to start to expand and bring in other companies, or they're going to have places after these mergers for said companies. You can already see it happening. Nintendo's also been very friendly with Sony recently, especially after Sony bought out one of their struggling factories from Nintendo. So that is something very interesting. A lot of you are like, oh no, the whole DRM chip thing is now done for the Wii U. Sony bought it. Sony's evil. Actually, the current CEO, not the Ridge Racer Sony former CEO, is friends with Iwata, or at least they know each other and respect one another. In fact, the current CEO of Sony actually has 2 Wii U's and used to be pretty active on Miiverse. Well, at least the first year. I don't know if he still is. I think I got banned from him or unfriended. I don't remember. So what type of merger could you expect from Nintendo and Sony, though? Would it be video games? Probably not. But considering Nintendo wasn't open to anything non-game related before, teaming up with Sony and having them do stuff with their IPs either on smartphones, film, or television, that's something that's very plausible and something Sony is very good at. Look at the Spider-Man movies. In fact, Sony even has a video game that's being filmed right now for the movies. And that film is Sly Cooper, which will come out in 2016. So, giving Sony permission to make the Legend of Zelda film or another Nintendo character like Star Fox is not unheard of now, at least in the movies. I'm sure something like that will happen. This afternoon, there was also a rumor that Nintendo of America was meeting with Disney, you know, the biggest monopoly in America when it comes to media. They were basically pitching a short-term partnership over the Mario property. I don't know if you know this, but in the 1980s, it was NOA that let DiC license the characters to create the Super Mario Bros. Super Show, the Legend of Zelda cartoon, and Captain N, even though Nintendo didn't retain the rights to characters that appeared in Captain N. Actually, most of the characters, worlds, and themes were from third-party IPs like Castlevania, Mega Man, etc., etc. But copyrights were different back then, right? Wrong. Also, Marvel Comics, which is part of the Disney empire now, has been interested in highlighting some Nintendo characters for some time. Now they may be able to do so for print and digital. What will come about this? I don't know, but the same could be said for WB and Cartoon Network, who've also been talking to Nintendo. Even with things being a little aggravating between WB over the Batman story DLC, it's not enough to shake any type of deal that Nintendo and Cartoon Network may or may not have. But from a business standpoint, and an entertainment partnership with Disney would be the best thing Nintendo could do at this point in time. Cartoon Network is not pulling the same numbers that Disney XD and Disney Channel are at the moment. Animated programs aren't faring well at all on Cartoon Network, especially after losing Star Wars, which was its biggest draw for the audience to watch. That's going to appear on Disney XD as Star Wars Rebels. I believe it's in 2015. Last year, Cartoon Network also canceled Young Justice, Green Lantern, and the new Batman show, Beware the Batman, after only 11 episodes. According to my source, Beware the Batman is canceled. And the remaining 2 episodes from the 13-episode series will air on the DVD releasing February 18th, 2014. Now, I'm still looking into this because I did like that show. And originally, it was bought for a 22-episode run on Cartoon Network on the DC Nation thing, but it's not looking good. So, Disney would be the safest choice for Nintendo at this point in time. And I think it's actually a good fit with the audience that they have for the age demographic and things like that. Plus, they could start right away with a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph 2. Because remember, Wreck-It Ralph is a Disney property. And the original film was supposed to feature Nintendo characters and worlds, but Nintendo pulled out because they didn't want their characters to have a cameo. The original cameo that Sonic did for the PSA was supposed to be Mario, but Nintendo didn't like the idea of their characters only being just cameos. So they were a bit stingy. They were very Scrooge-like to Disney and the directors behind Disney Wreck-It Ralph. But the director of Wreck-It Ralph has stated if they do a sequel, he wants Nintendo characters. Now that is very possible with Nintendo's new model. So I think, if anything, we will see Mario characters in Wreck-It Ralph 2 and maybe even more of an impact in that storyline. Personally, I think getting a new Mario show off the ground right now based on the 3D World properties and the characters, settings, all this stuff would be a huge splash with younger viewers on Disney XD. As long as they get a talented scriptwriter and good voice actors, I think they'll be fine. Mario is a very fun property. Kids like it. Adults like it. You know, it would work very well with what Disney XD offers, especially since they do a lot of animated program. Anyway, getting back to the other mergers, Nintendo actually spoke in the interview today about possibly purchasing other developers to have them work with Nintendo and do Nintendo games or just buy out other IPs altogether. If I was Iwata, I would first buy Sega for $1 billion US. Why so high? Well, basically, I could make a Sonic game and Sonic fans, whether good or bad, would buy it anyway. I mean, just look at the insane sales for Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. Most of those games are terrible, but the Sonic fans just buy them anyway. So, yeah. Also, Sega's net worth is very low right now after they acquired Atlas. So they really can't protect themselves from a buyout from Nintendo. The biggest company that I want to see Nintendo get, and I'm going to get a huge amount of hate for this, and I don't care. There is a company that is embedded in many gamers' minds, especially when they were children, that this character was associated with Nintendo. He was on Nintendo systems, NES, Game Boy, Super Nintendo. He appeared on the N64, and he had tons of a variety of games on the DS. I say Nintendo needs to buy out Capcom for $3 billion US. I want this to happen. I want Mega Man under the control of the Mario Company. Capcom's had their time. They're hurting financially. Nintendo loves those classic properties and would have a lot of new ideas that Western developers cannot touch. So, for the biggest upset in gaming history, Nintendo theoretically buys Sega, and then they buy Capcom. What has just happened? Well, Nintendo is sitting on a huge amount of properties, and we're talking a lot of awesome things. Street Fighter, Monster Hunter, Sonic the Hedgehog, Atlas, Golden Axe, Shenmue, Streets of Rage, Final Fight, and of course, Mega Man. That right there is money in the bank. And you have to remember all the licensing associated with that, from anime, mangas, comics, toys, films, and other merchandise, all coming into Nintendo's bank. At the same time, go ahead and buy Platinum Games, Armature, Level 5, Human Head, Monolith Sift. And there you go. That's my 2 cents. Those are my ideas. Nintendo probably won't do any of it, though we will probably see some new partnerships and mergers. I don't think it's out of left field to see Platinum Games and Level 5 and Monolith Sith become official Nintendo, second-party people or whatever. Monolith might already be one. But I think probably we will see like some type of either Nintendo cartoon on Disney or Nickelodeon. That's not too far out there. They're already doing talks, so we'll see how that goes. I'd watch it. I would tune in once a week to see it. I also think probably the biggest thing that would be most likely out of all of this for Nintendo to make quick buck would it be make a Nintendo Skylanders game that could appear on both 3DS and Wii U and make use of their technology that they haven't really used yet. But that is going to conclude my podcast or rant or thoughts or whatever you want to call this thing. I hope you guys had fun. I enjoyed myself. I got a little bit too into it, but what could I say? I will be gone for a while in the world of Final Fantasy because I have about 2 weeks to get that video ready for launch day. But anyway, it's time to open the floodgates of discussion. Agree, disagree? Sound off in the comment section below. I don't really have anything left to add at all. I'm completely out of things. I have to go eat dinner. I'm done. I hope you guys found this video helpful, fun, and I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button because it really does help me out a lot. And I'd be curious to see what other people on YouTube have to say about this. And, the more likes it gets, the easier it is to find on YouTube and also Google. So keep that in mind. I really had fun talking to you guys, and I'm going to stop now. God bless. Happy gaming. Have a fantastic weekend. I'm done. Peace out.